Welcome everyone. This is the 300 Club podcast, episode 16. My name is Gil. This is Kelvin right here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. From the 300 Club podcast. This is episode 16. What we got for them today, Gil?
We're gonna keep a brief update with the Mets and the standings. Same thing with the Yankees and the Orioles. Yankees currently holding first place. We're gonna see Aaron Judge's homer pace. He's already hit over 50 home runs, and September hasn't started. Rumors about Juan Soto in free agency. The Mets and the Yankees are looking like favorites to land Soto.
Yep.
Do we think that he'll prioritize the money or winning? And lastly, Otani has joined the 40-40 club, the sixth man in history. And the question is, will he get a 50-50 season and be the first player to do so? Let's get it. Please like, subscribe. You
Yes,
already
sir.
know.
Yes,
I've
sir.
been.
Yes, sir. So we're gonna go ahead and dive into the standings right now. Let me go ahead and share my screen. As you mentioned before, it's gonna be a very close race as we head into September. At the time of this recording, it's the end of August. And yeah, man, it's gonna be a whirlwind going into this playoff series. As of now, as I go ahead and share my screen here, the way that the standings is looking, give me 1 second here. As we look, you have the Mets right now who are currently out of the wild card race. I think that they might have had a tough schedule recently. They played against some tough opponents. A lot of the Yankee fans were actually rooting for the Mets over the past week because they played against the Orioles, so they helped us build that lead. So shout out to the Mets. However, they're sitting at 69 and 63. 3 games out of the wild card picture. They got the Atlanta Braves above them. The San Diego Padres, who have been surging lately, they're on a 3-game winning streak. They've been doing extremely, extremely well. The Arizona Diamondbacks, this is a team that I feel like not that I'm hoping for them to fall off, but out of the ones that are above, I expect the Diamondbacks or the Braves to fall off. I feel like the Braves has had a lot of injuries this year. What are some thoughts and opinions that you want to share as we look at the standings here?
Well, I did see a graphic that since the All-Star break, the D-backs and the Padres are two of the top teams in terms of records. So that's why they've been maintaining their positioning in the wild card race. I agree the Braves have had many injuries. That's why they haven't kicked off this year. The Mets did kind of have a hard stretch in the home stretch. We didn't capitalize against the Padres. I believe we tied in series 2-2 last
Yeah.
week. Last night we beat the D-backs, so that's a little win right there, even though there's a little gap. We still currently playing the D-backs. Hopefully, we could take that series, and get that momentum flowing into next week.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I wanted to show you real quick because you made a reference that you guys played against the Padres where you guys did a split. You guys took two out of the Orioles. Those are games that you guys needed to win. So I just wanted to go ahead and share what the schedule was in the month of August. And now you guys are up against the Diamondbacks. The time is now.
time is now, and they got the White Sox. Maybe you could get a sweep there too. Maybe.
Yeah, yeah. And then as we look ahead into September here, give me 1 second. Let's see what is ahead of them. They got a 3-game series against the Chicago White Sox, then they got the Red Sox right after at home. You have the Cincinnati Reds and then the Toronto Blue Jays. I think these are all series that they should win. They should win.
My concern is that, as you can see, after the White Sox, they play the Red Sox and the Reds. They both play of potential teams. The Blue Jays, they're not that good this year. But then you got the Phillies, twice this month.
Oh my God,
Uh,
yeah, that's tough.
That's tough. And you got the Nationals. They kind of like you can't sleep on them, even though they're not that good. Then you got the Braves. That's a big series. I feel
Yeah, I
that's the
mean, if you look at it right now, it's like the best opportunity to kind of build that lead. They have to win the series against the Arizona Diamondbacks. I think it starts off with that, number one. Number
yeah.
two, they have to take the Chicago White Sox seriously. They cannot afford to lose any game with that series.
I
Going
agree.
into the Boston Red Sox,
Yeah,
um,
I agree.
I think that might be a tough race because the Boston Red Sox have been surging lately too. A lot of people predicted that probably will be last place, and that's not the case this year. You have the resurgence of Jarren Duran, who's been killing. Um, damn, I forgot his name. Lefty, first baseman, third baseman.
Oh,
Devers, there you go. Yeah, you have Devers there too, who's having a monster year. Cincinnati Reds is the team that I thought was going to be a little bit more competitive this year, and that's not the case. They started off good, but they've been slipping as of late. And then you have the Toronto Blue Jays, who have not been excelling this year. Leading up to that series against the Phillies. So I feel like now is the best opportunity for them to build some momentum because anything can happen with that Philly series. It's definitely playoff atmosphere.
yeah.
And to point out that between the first series that they play against the Phillies on the 13th to the 22nd, there's no games off in between.
No, that's
That's
tough.
tough. That's tough. That's
So,
real,
a
real
quick
tough.
question, bro. Like, do you feel like, because I wanted to be a baseball player growing up, right? So,
Of course.
looking at the schedule now, like, I'm not gonna lie, it's a little tough, bro. Playing all these games consecutively and traveling to then get a day off, like just one day randomly. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that easy. It's not that easy of a sport to play, bro. On a day to day.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And when it comes down to this schedule in particular, as we look at the Mets schedule, I like the fact that leading up to the end of their season, they're playing against a lot of playoff teams.
They
And
are.
I remember in a previous episode that we mentioned that Arizona, their playoffs started in July. So if the Mets can somehow win these games, and I have a question for you, by the way. If the Mets somehow win these games leading up to playoffs, I'm scared of the Mets, bro. You start playing playoff baseball in September, you never know what could happen leading up to October. My question to you is the Mets have been somewhat successful this year. I think a lot of people didn't expect them to be where they are right now.
Yeah.
Is Mendoza coach of the year or manager of the year?
Mm, I don't think so. Don't get me wrong. I think he's over exceeded expectations just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the D-backs manager is one of the best managers in the game right now currently. The Padres got a great manager too. I don't know,
Yeah.
bro. And the Dodgers, the Dave Roberts, it's
Yeah, but
tough, bro.
that's like this is
Who's a favorite?
why
Who's a
I,
favorite stuff?
uh
Craig
I'm gonna be on.
Counsell.
Yeah, I mean, Craig Counsell also. I mean, if you look at the Chicago Cubs, also they've been surging a late as well. They won 7 of the last 10 games. I don't think a lot of people expected them to be.
I did it.
Yeah, yeah, and to be honest with you, I actually had them winning the AL Central going into this year. I did not think
Oh,
the Milwaukee Brewers were going to be that good, but um, I think Carlos Mendoza is definitely in the consideration for manager of the year. I don't think the Mets. I mean, look at the scenario. He came over from the Yankees. It's in New York, first year manager, adopting a team where they're paying so many athletes that are no longer with the team. And you had Ronnie Mauricio go down, but you've elevated with Ventos and more and company. And I feel like he's made the most of what he was given this year, given what has happened in previous years.
yeah.
And honestly, bro, credit to Mendoza. I know you were very critical of him early in the year, but I do think that maybe your perspective it can probably be be reconsider your opinions
Yeah.
on Mendoza for sure.
No doubt, no doubt. Shout out to him at Charlie's getting the team within the conversation of the playoffs this late into the season. Like again, like I didn't expect the Mets to be this closer than the Rays this late into the season, So
Exactly. And I don't know, man. I just hope that the Atlanta Braves. It's not that I hope, but I don't think that they're gonna have enough. I also didn't like Austin Riley also go down with an injury too.
yeah, he did recently. Yeah,
Yeah, it's tough, man. The Atlanta Braves are tough. It reminds me of
I
what
feel
the
like
Yankees went through
I
a
feel
couple
like the
years
Mets
ago.
would put up a better fight if they were to be in the playoffs than the Braves currently. I believe so.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe so. I mean, sometimes when it rains, it pours, dude.
Yeah,
I want to go ahead and switch gears into the Yankees right now. They're number one in the AL East at the moment. Give me 1 second. I'll try to look this up. I thought I had it prepared. I guess I didn't. Or I had duplicates on here. It doesn't matter. But as we go ahead and look at the AL East, we have the Yankees right now who are a game ahead of the Baltimore Orioles. As I mentioned before, the Orioles had a lot of opportunities to build a lead and they
yeah,
didn't. I think that's a fault to who they are. They're a very young team. We're a game ahead of them. I mean, the Yankees had a horrible 6 to 7 week time period throughout the year, but still, it's remarkable that we started off so strong this year that we were able to hold it down as much as possible. And right now, I think we're either top two in the MLB in terms of record. I think we lead the league in wins, but we don't have the best overall record. I think, yeah, there you go. The Dodgers are. Um, as we go ahead and look at the schedule, give me 1 second here. I gotta wait for this to disappear. As we go ahead and look at the schedule, I think right now they're up against the Nationals.
yeah.
I feel like this is something that they could win, but last year we played yesterday we played so shitty, made a lot of errors. Let me just share this nugget. Jazz Chisholm came back from injury. He injured his left elbow, possible UCL tear. He's been back. Luckily, we evaded a huge bullet there because we definitely do need him. Even though he hit a home run last night, his defense at their base has been sloppy.
Really?
Now, yeah, man. A lot of throwing mistakes, and it's not so much with the glove, but it's a lot of like the throws. Um, I don't know, man. Learning a new position in the middle of the season, in the middle of a pennant race, is extremely difficult. You just had a crazy injury, and you're back very, very soon. I gotta show a little bit of grace, but we can't afford that right now. Any thoughts and opinions you want to share on the Yankees before
Yeah,
I
I
dive
feel like
deeper?
that's a little bit asking too much about him, you know. And there's a possibility that hopefully he doesn't get hurt again, but it's a possibility considering that it's such a high stakes in the middle of the dog days of August heading into September. You have the Orioles trailing you right behind. Like it's a lot of pressure right now, you know. September's
Yeah,
a big month for the Yankees, and if they want to go on a run and secure the first seed and get a favorable matchup in the wild card series, and yeah, something to
yeah.
see.
We shall see. And then if you look at the schedule ahead, we have a 3-game series against the Cardinals. That's something that we should win. Then we're going to be up against the Texas Rangers, who definitely dived off this year after winning the chip last year. We have the Chicago Cubs, a 3-game set. The Kansas City Royals, who have been extremely surprising this year. And if I'm not mistaken, they actually tied the Cleveland Guardians now. That's what they are called.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah.
for the AL Central. So the Royals have been surging. We have the Red Sox, 4-game set. And then we have the Mariners. The Mariners don't really hit. At the Athletics, that should be series that we should be winning. But this is what gets me. It's the is second to last series of the year. It's up against the Baltimore Orioles, and then we end the year
With the
with
Pirates.
the Pirates. Now, in comparison to the Mets have somewhat of a difficult schedule that I feel like can lead them into momentum towards the playoffs.
Playoffs, yeah.
On the Yankees, not so much. We have the series against the Red Sox, we have the series against the Mariners and the A's, and then the Pirates with the O's in between. I don't know. It looks as though like a lot of these games
But
should be a lot of fine tuning.
I feel like the Yankees on paper have a favorable schedule for September. I do get your concern, like possibly downplaying to their competition could create bad habits and flaws, especially in a crucial month, right? And heading into the playoffs when you want to build better habits. So, of course, something to see. The Red Sox series is going to be good. The Orioles and the Pirates series is going to be great for them. The Mariners, that could be a little challenging because despite the fact that they can't hit, they have one of the best pitching staffs in all of baseball. So they shut us down. So I'm just saying that from experience. So
Yeah, yeah,
depends. It depends. As long as they stay healthy and you got the big three in Soto, Judge, and Stanton, I think they'll be all right. They've
yeah.
been cruising together. Again, the rest of the order got to go hit up. Verdugo, I think, just hit a home run finally the other day. Yeah.
Right, right. Yeah, he's been slumping too. And we have reinforcements coming in. Like we have Anthony Rizzo who's coming back. He's on a rehab assignment. We have key pieces in the bullpen that are also on the verge of coming back. You know, we are gonna have prospects come up. We're gonna dive into like prospect watch and who we're excited to see towards September out of future episodes. So stay tuned to watch that. But in terms of like the bullpen, I do feel like Luis Hill has been a phenomenal starter, but I feel like the bullpen needs him more because we don't have anybody like him. But the other thing that scares me is number one, you're transitioning from a starter to the bullpen role. And
Yeah.
also, what's been lacking has been his control. So, how is that going to affect him? It's a lot of question marks. And honestly speaking, I really hope this doesn't happen. But if fast forward, you told me that, you know, the Yankees were going to have a horrible September going into the playoffs or even possibly collapse, I would believe it. It's you never know. Excuse me, but you never know. Um,
Do you feel like with Luis Hill, you feel like it's more arm fatigue, like having like his first full season pitching from start to the whole season.
yeah,
He slowed down a little bit as the season went on due to like arm fatigue, not being used to the grind, like 32 starts and whatnot. Do you feel like that's
yeah,
just a preparation thing?
yeah. I think it's even more than arm fatigue. I think it's gonna be more like general fatigue. I think he's out right now on a 10-day DL because of a back strain, and typically if you have back strain, that's probably because your spine or your back lower back region is tired. Your
Yeah,
muscles literally can't even hold you up anymore. Therefore,
yeah,
it's strained. So I think that good point there. I think it has something to do with this general body fatigue. You know, Garrett Cole missed out on half the season because he fell off. So you never really know, but we do have the assets um to excel. Like Carlos Rodon, we're paying him all that money. He has to excel. Nestor Cortez, I don't know if you noticed, uh, bro, he has been like on a streak of like 20 scoreless innings. But like how much longer is he gonna hold that up? It's a lot of question marks. Marcus Stroman also. It's the end of the season. I think we now know how he is towards the end of the season. It's a lot of question marks. But one person who is not a question mark, and that is Aaron Judge.
Facts.
The question is, do you feel like he's on that he'll break his AL home run record? Right now, it looks as though he's on pace. This image right here is dated back to August 26th. He hasn't hit a home run yet, to my knowledge. But right now he's on pace to hit 63. One last thing I want to show before I give you the mic, that I want to say before I give you the mic, is that leading up to him breaking the AL record 2 years ago, he wasn't really getting pitches to hit, and he was slumping a little bit leading up to the last week of the season. He sat at 61 for about 4 to 5 games or so. Is that going to happen this year? I don't know. But what are some thoughts and opinions that you want to share about Aaron Judge and his chase for history?
I would like for him to break his own record. I think if he hits a home run every like other game or every 2, 3 games, I think he can still catch up to it. Because remember, he still has a full month worth of games. Um, he's hitting the ball at a ridiculous rate. I believe he's having an even better year than his MVP in 2022. All around, like this dude is amazing. I believe his RBI is going to surpass his career high this year. Um, I guess there could be some concern if he can go in a bad stretch where he's not seeing pitches, chasing a little bit, trying to chase history. Though I would say it might be a little less pressure because he's breaking his own record. It's not nobody else's. So I
Right.
feel like he could just focus on wins. When you ask him in an interview about a home run, he's always focused about did we win? Like the priority is winning. Like the Derek Jeter answer. As a captain. But
Right.
nonetheless, though, I do believe he could break his own record.
As a Yankee fan, I'm gonna go out and say I don't think he's gonna break his own record. And I'm gonna say this is gonna catch a lot of people off guard. The reason why, and you alluded to it earlier, the reason why I don't think he's gonna break his own record is because the second to the last series before the season ends is up against the Baltimore Orioles. Now, depending on what the matchup is gonna be, the Orioles are probably not gonna pitch to him during that 3 game set. And
That's
that's the heartbreaker. And it's smart for them not to pitch to him.
not
If
letting him
they're
beat you. Yeah.
exactly, don't let him beat you. And I think that's exactly what's gonna happen. And then you have 3 games against the Pirates. Anything can happen then. So it's tough. That's the only reason I feel like he might not be able to do it. And it's because, dude, why are you gonna pitch to Aaron Judge? It doesn't make any sense for them to.
Yeah. And I just love the fact that he's sitting for high average. I believe he's second in the batting average in the AL. If he gets
Mhm.
a crown and an MVP in the same season, like this dude is phenomenal, bro.
And I hope he gets the Triple Crown. I really does. I hope he gets it. He's never won a Gold Glove.
Oh
And I feel
wow.
like, right. And I feel like there should have been at least a season that he earned it at right field or even at center field at some point, but he never won a Gold Glove. And it would be astonishing to me the fact that he'll go his whole career without a Gold Glove. I feel like what would compensate would be the Triple Crown. It would really cement him as being one of the greatest hitters of all time. But guess what? His defense was not that far off. I think he robbed the home run the other day. So
He's still the main center fielder for the team, correct?
he's a main center fielder. He's
I
been
feel
pretty.
like I feel like I
Yeah,
feel like as long as he's a center fielder, I don't think he will ever win a Gold Glove because he's a way better right fielder based on numbers.
yeah,
Um, you don't know when they'll make that switch back to right field, and if so, then he's just gonna be older, So you probably
yeah,
won't see the best range as he had years ago. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So
Truth
that
be
window
told,
probably.
I think he's actually going to be moved to left field. I think they're going to keep Soto in, right? Who's having a plus defensive year in defense this year. So shout out to Soto. We're going to dive into him in a second, so don't go anywhere. But with Judge, I think he's going to be moved to left field, definitely. And I think Jason Dominguez is probably going to man center. Um,
Possibly,
and
yeah.
yeah, and I think that Aaron Judge playing in left field, I think it's going to work because he still has a lot of ground to cover.
Yeah, yeah.
And him and Jason Dominguez being there, I think that's going to work out. Um, and I think we might see a preview of that going into September. I think Jason Dominguez, he's on the verge of being called up. He's one of the most exciting prospects that I've seen. Definitely very overhyped. Um, Defensively, I read an article today actually that he has not shown providence in defense this year. I think it has to do because he's recovering from Tommy John surgery. But offensively, he's pretty much owned AAA at this point, so he's definitely going to be brought up. Um, let's go ahead and dive into our guy, and I say our guy because at the end of this year, it could be he could be your guy, and that's Juan Soto. You wanted to raise the question, so I'm gonna go ahead and let you ask it.
My
Take it away.
question is, will Juan Soto choose the money or will he prioritize winning? I saw a conversation, I believe it was with Michael Kay and a few other members of the media, and they were saying that Soto will likely chase the money because, for example, he was in the Nationals. He got offered, I believe, was 450 million, and he still declined it, and that was about 3 years ago. He went to the Padres, and I believe there was a possibility that he could have stayed there long term, and he just, he didn't. And now he's in the Yankees on a 1 year deal that was an opt-in, and he's having probably his best season, not probably, likely his best season of his career so far. He's
Yeah,
still 25 years old in the middle of his prime. Like, dude, I don't get it, bro. Like Otani broke the record with the money, but Soto, he wouldn't be far off, I think, He's a special hitter.
I
He
agree.
doesn't strike
Uh,
out a lot, gets on base a lot. I
I
don't
saw a statistic where at this point in time he has 100 more walks than Ichiro Suzuki, which I thought was crazy. But
yeah.
I think Juan Soto, to answer your question, I think Juan Soto is going to go whoever pays him the most. His representation is Scott Boras, and you guys have probably heard this all year on different podcast platforms and different news articles and stuff like that. Um, I think when you're with Scott Boras, you sign for the most amount of money. That's the purpose of you being with Scott Boras is to get the most amount of money. I think it's going to be a bidding war. I think that it's gonna be. I don't know what team he's gonna be on, to be honest, because the thing is like even though he might like the Yankees and he might like the roster construction or whatever the case is, at the end of the day, I do feel like when it comes down to the money, Steve Cohen is gonna be able to commit to more dollars than Brian Cashman is gonna be able to commit to,
And
and I
and
think that's gonna
and
be the
willing
deciding
and
factor.
willing and willing to eat the taxes as well, or the threshold. So
Exactly. And then if you look at like the cultural difference, like the Mets, I think they embrace more of like Hispanic heritage. They're
yeah,
definitely a little bit more diverse. Um, they have more of a need for Soto, so they have more of a motivation to overspend if they need to.
yeah.
He could definitely be a franchise player for years to come, put his number in the rafters. And I feel like with the Yankees, yeah, you're gonna get the same perks, but I don't think the money is gonna be the same. And it will suck. I mean, the Yankees don't have a reason to not pay him, but other than it's just Steve Cohen, bro. But I
What's
think
the
he's
high?
gonna
Well, how high you think Cashman and Steinbrenner are willing to go with Soto?
at the end of the day, I think it's gonna fall between both teams, the Mets and the Yankees. And I feel like whoever offers the amount of money, the other team is gonna be like, we'll give you 5 million more, we'll give you 10 million more, we'll give you 1 million more. I think it's gonna be like that. Seriously.
So you
And
don't think they can have a limit? Like, I'm not going over this number.
they should not, but I would not be surprised if they did. They shouldn't. They should not have a limit. I would not be surprised if they come out and then say, "Oh, 500 mil was our limit," because they've done it before. Look at Yamamoto. They said that they didn't believe that Yamamoto should be getting paid more than Garrett Cole,
Yeah.
and he ended up going to the Dodgers. I think he was going to the Dodgers regardless, but he ended up going to the Dodgers. And I think that in this scenario, again, it's to answer your question. That's the question that we all want to know: Is he going to go where the money's at, or is he going to go with the opportunity to win? He already won a World Series, bro.
That is true.
At this point, he can make his 40, 45. I think he's going to make 50 a year. I think he's
Minimum.
gonna. I think he's gonna make a minimum 50 a year. I don't really know the duration of the contract. Um, it could be up until he's 40 to 42 years old. I think that's reasonable. I think you look at Xander Bogaerts, who signed till he's 42. Also, Yu Darvish is signed to his late 40, his mid 40s. Also, why not? Excuse me. Why not Soto? Um, and I feel like
But
he's just gonna. I think he's gonna age beautifully.
that play vision doesn't disappear, bro. The walks.
Exactly. Like I think he's gonna be very Nelson Cruz ish, but from the left side.
I feel like with Soto, he'll probably play somewhere top five in walks all time, I think, at the end of his career.
Yeah.
Uh, if you was a GM for any team, unlimited money, what is the ideal contract you offer Soto right now?
Um, to make him say yeah, give him 60 mil.
How
To
many
make him
years?
say yeah. Uh D- I think he's 25 right now.
Yeah.
Uh, so the deal would be between 15 to 17 years at 55 to 60 a year. So do the math. I think
It,
it's like that. Because also keep in mind that I feel like Soto and Scott Boras, Scott Boras specifically, they know that as inflation grows, that they don't want to lose out on his value
as the
as
years.
we're 10 years into the contract where the dollar amounts are different, where now you have rookies making 20 million. I don't think they want to lose that value. Therefore, I believe that uh that they're gonna have to it's gonna look very overpriced right now, but 10 years down the road, they're gonna be like, oh, that's where he should be. Because at this point, free agents are gonna be signing for that amount of contract. Um, yeah.
That number you mentioned is an estimate of around 880 million for that many years.
Yeah, but that's the thing, it's the amount of years too. I have a question for you. Do you think his deal should be Shohei Ohtani-ish, where he has a lot of the money deferred? What do you think?
I don't know if I personally would want that. I get the logic though, but no. I say no because no matter how big Soto is and how good he is, he's not marketed the same way that Otani is. So
Right.
the endorsement money is not coming the same way that it's coming for Otani. Otani can get away with making 2 million now and cashing that in later because you probably make 40 to 50 million on endorsement. Soto's not making those,
Exactly.
you know. So I
I
don't think that's a
agree.
good idea for him.
I agree. I don't. I would find it extremely shocking if he did that. And honestly, he would have my respect because we play a team sport, and you don't want your contract to hog up much of the payroll. If he was to do that, I think it will set a trend. Him and Otani, I feel like it will set a trend to the rest of the athletes out there in the world across various sports that it's okay for you to get your money and have it be deferred for the betterment of the team to be able to afford more players. But I don't see that happening with Juan Soto. So I agree with you. I don't think that's gonna happen.
I do think there's a concern though if that was to be a trend though. The concern will be that it could lead to a possible lockout. It could lead to a possible CBA battle between the players union and the sports leagues. And I feel like it hurts the owners of smaller market teams because they're gonna be like, how can we compete? It's like Otani, for example.
Yeah.
How small market team, how can you compete with the Dodgers if they can get away with paying him the minimum required and paying him down the line, whereas another team is giving you the most that they got and it's still not enough for Otani. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah,
like I
absolutely.
feel like there's no competitive balance there.
It would completely break the system.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like it's necessarily a smart thing to do with every star player, to be honest with you, because if you look at it, if you were to do that, yeah, right now you guys are going to be paid little, but once you guys are done and retired, like
There's a
the
team later.
franchise, yeah, the franchise literally can't even make any moves because now they're paying that guy 40 to 50 mil and he's not even on the team. So it's like one of those where it's like with Otani, I get why he did it. I mean, he had every right to do it. I don't think it makes any sense for Juan Soto to do it. I'd be shocked if he does. And if he does it, I think it's gonna break the system, dude. Is it would be one of the most selfless things that anybody has ever done in the history of sports, and one where there has to be more money being slid under the table that we don't know about if he was to do that. Which I won't be shocked because anything can happen in MLB. So
He's Dominican, right?
yeah. Yeah, let's go ahead and switch topics to another monumental player here who's on the brink of breaking more records. Shohei Ohtani, who's on track to become the first player ever to go for 50-50. That's fire. Just being 50-50. That's fire. Do you think he's gonna do it?
I think he can do it, bro. He got a month left. He just hit 41 homers a few nights ago. He already got a 40 stolen bases. Damn, bro. And he's not pitching this year, so he's probably taking it to another gear on the offensive side. And he's hitting for average too, which is ridiculous, bro. This dude is he's special to watch, bro. And sorry, and he did 40-40 on the same night, a stolen base and then a home run, bro. Like
The
he
Grand Slam to
does
win
it
it, right?
all. He does it all, bro. And
Yeah.
damn, I don't know, bro. I feel like he's on pace to be like arguably the best player of all time, bro. If he does this for several more years, bro.
Uh, Going 50 for 50 is an accomplishment that I didn't think was ever possible.
Yeah.
Um, because hitting 50 home runs is crazy. We see people hit 40 more common than 50.
Yes.
Ronald Acuna went, I think 40, 70,
70. Yeah.
which was crazy. One of the best seasons of all time, honestly. Hitting 50 though, 50.
And running 50 is tough.
That's crazy, bro. That's crazy. And like it just honestly speaking, like when it comes down to Otani, like being the fact that he's been hitting pretty much all year, focus on that. This to me solidified that he's the greatest player I've ever seen. The fact that he's not pitching this year and he's putting up numbers like this as a strictly offensive player to me is crazy. And then if you know, like I feel like once he starts pitching, like you give a little bit, you know, you're not focused on hitting as much. Like I'm curious to know how he's gonna come back and pitch next year. How is he gonna be pitching? You know, how's the elbow? How's everything?
He
Um,
started throwing already though.
yeah, I
Both of
know, but it's still very different. Like I don't know what his training regimen is during the off season. I don't know if he partakes in any of like the Japanese leagues or anything like that. I doubt it because they want to
them, he
protect him as
trains.
much as possible.
I think he typically trains the whole season.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's different. I think it's gonna be different. You're taking a year off pitching, just hitting. Essentially, you're not even thinking about pitching.
No.
So I'm just curious to know how he's gonna adapt. And then on top of that, you have a resurgence of so many rookies this year that are balling. Like they just put Dylan Cruz, who hit a double against Garrett Cole. Um, a lot of young players. You know, the scouting reports are gonna be looking very different. I'm curious to know how he's gonna adapt to that. But going for 50, bro, that's
You
fire.
know what I do appreciate about like technology and sports science. Like I remember many years ago growing up, even if a position player had like let's say a UCL or a Tommy John injury, you know, they weren't pitchers, they likely wouldn't be cleared to even just hit as a DH, you know. But now you have Otani, Bryce Harper had Tommy John, I think like once or twice, and they still playing even as DHs if they have to, you know, they've been productive in a certain way, and I like that. Um,
And by the way, brace procedure, he did not do Tommy John.
oh,
Otani,
you did it?
which is new. Yeah, he didn't do. I don't think he did Tommy John. So they've been doing like this whole brace procedure. I don't know if you were able to like read up on it. I don't know much about it, but it's an
Yeah.
alternative against Tommy John.
Wow.
It's been a little bit more common now, and you know, Tommy John has been that surgery has been around since like the 70s or the 80s. So it's kind of cool that they figured out a different way.
Yeah.
He's had Tommy John before. Um, and I think that literally like he's one elbow injury away from just not, I'm gonna be honest,
Not pitching no more?
not pitching no more.
Yeah, I think
If
so.
his elbow breaks down again, bro, let me ask you this, and for the general audience as well. If Otani sustains one more injury to his shoulder or elbow, specifically the elbow, do you think the Dodgers are gonna continue to have him pitch and hit?
Well, I feel like it depends. If it's a minor injury, I think he'll be fine. But if it's a serious injury where it requires him to miss time or possibly surgery, yeah, I think that's the last chance. I think what they may consider is making him a reliever, maybe a positional reliever, like possibly maybe play the outfield and sometimes DH, and then come in as a substitute and possibly relieve an inning or two, maybe be the closer, maybe
Yeah.
like you could still preserve his arm, so.
Yeah, I think that'd be a pretty good idea because he's shown that he's could do it. He's done it before in the WBC, striking out Mike Trout to win it all. Like besides the World Series, it doesn't get much higher intensity than that.
Yeah.
But I do think that one injury, away, and look at what happened with Mookie Betts. Uh, was playing shortstop, was playing at a phenomenal level. Plus defender at shortstop, by the way, and then he gets hurt, and then the Dodgers decide, let's move him back to right field, and he was upset about that. Um, and I like seeing Mookie in the infield, not more or less in shortstop, but I see him as a second baseman. But you know, I just think that the Dodgers are known for making those kind of drastic decisions. Unless it's written in the contract somewhere that Otani is allowed to pitch as long as he wants to. I don't know. I do know that contract does have a lot of stipulations. Like, for example, the Dodgers couldn't fire, and this is way back before the gambling thing, they couldn't fire his translator. He was protected. Or
Yeah.
if the GM leaves, Otani leaves. Like, that was also part of the contract. Like, unless there's some stipulation there, I don't know. But I think he's one injury away from. I think maybe we should reconsider this. Um,
And it's crazy too, because Otani, if he does a 50-50 season, he's already a favorite to win the MVP in the National League. And historically, there's never been an MVP that's been a full-time DH. So that's something to see.
in
If
the
it, if
National League,
no, in general.
Dave
And
David Ortiz won MVP. No,
uh, World Series MVP. Yeah,
No, I'm pretty sure he won the MVP in 2007. No, that was Pedroia. Wow.
history in the
That's
making. If
crazy.
Otani wins it, yeah, no,
Who else
no.
is who else is in the running for NL MVP? Francisco
Yeah,
Lindor, even though I don't think he's gonna win it.
Lindor went to second right now in the rankings. Third, I think is Marcel Osuna, I believe.
Hmm.
But I think there's a gap between Osuna and Otani. So
Yeah, and Francisco Lindor, I would give it to him if the Mets make the playoffs because I don't know. Here's the thing though. Let me ask you a question, MVP question, and we're gonna revisit this at a further date before we wrap this episode up. AO MVP, Aaron Judge or Bobby Witt Jr. and why?
I mean, it's Judge. I don't think it should be as close as the media's making it seem. But Bobby Witt and Judge, I feel
Okay,
like, yeah,
pause that thought. Second question: what's your definition of MVP?
that's a hard question, bro. Because it depends who you ask. A lot of people feel like the MVP should be the best player in the league, and then some other people feel like the MVP should be the best player to their particular team. You know,
So tail of the tape. You have the best player in the
but
league in Aaron Judge, and then you have somebody who's so crucial to the team in Bobby Witt Jr., who's the
because
MVP.
I'm gonna give you an example because this year's where Mike Trout has won MVP, but his team has been one of the worst teams in baseball. So it's like, do you really want to reward just being the best player, even if your team is bad? Like, are you really that valuable to your team? Or do you give it to a player that's competing at a high level and the team is also having success? So in my case, I'll give it to Judge. I feel like Judge has the better overall numbers all around, better extra bases, better OPS.
Right.
Uh, yeah, he's way taller. I feel like it's even harder for him to hit than a Bobby Witt Jr. He's much slower and he's doing it at a high level. So why not? Yeah, I'll give it to Judge, bro. Shout
Okay.
out to Bobby Witt though, but I give it to Judge.
Right. Right. So my personal definition of an MVP is somebody who is so valuable to their team's success that without them, they would not even make a playoffs. And I feel like it caters to Bobby Witt Jr. The thing is that Aaron Judge's season has been so phenomenal that it just blows whatever Bobby Witt is doing out of the water. I mean, this dude, and then essentially look at it. We've been without Aaron Judge before, or we've had Aaron Judge where he hasn't hit. And what do the Yankees do? They fall apart. So you could arguably say that without him being in the lineup, the Yankees are a mediocre team. So you could throw that in the
Yeah,
argument as well. Now in the NL, I just think that Otani right now is, he's doing phenomenal things for the Dodgers, but the Dodgers were also written on paper to win the division, probably to win it all. So is he really the MVP, or is it somebody like Lindor who a lot of people didn't even have the Mets even making the playoffs, and even though his batting average isn't as high, but look at the defense. It's like there's so
good
many
right now
things to
though, bro.
weigh.
Think about it. Like, for example, with Lindor, he raised his batting average 30 points in like 50 games, bro. That's amazing, bro.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What I would say is I already mentioned to you how there was no MVP that's been a full-time DH in the past. So the argument is, do you still give the MVP to Otani, even if he gets a 50-50 season? Or do you take account defense and give it to a guy like Lindor, who's doing it on both sides of the ball? Like,
And the
like
and the team made playoffs.
the team
Let's hope
like competing
they
for the
do.
playoffs. It's a hard argument because right now, 1 and 2 in the NL in WAR is Lindor and Otani. One is a full-time DH that's just batting every 3 or 4 at bats a game versus another dude that's batting 3 to 4 times, plus giving you above average defense at short at a key position. And he's doing just as good. He has over 25 home
Yeah.
runs. He has over 25 stolen bases. His average is around 265, all the way from what 210, 220 early in the year. Like it's tough. And his RBIs is almost around 80 RBIs a game right now. It's tough, bro. It's a tough argument. That's
Yeah.
something we can discuss at a later date, but something to keep the mind flowing. Something I want to discuss briefly, and we could touch about it in another episode. Did you recently see the news about O'Neal Cruz being moved from shortstop to the outfield?
Yeah, I saw that.
And then
I
a
saw
few
I
years
saw a
ago,
video where he caught the ball. I'm laughing because I saw a video where he caught the
yeah,
ball in center, and the caption was like, "Oh my god, he made that play."
I was confused when I saw the video. It was okay, yeah. And then like recently they moved Tatis to the outfield 2 years ago. So my question is like, do you think that would also happen to Ellie De La Cruz? And is that something where tall shortstops beyond average height will likely not sustain the position? You know, that's something to think about.
I'm not gonna say that for tall defenders are gonna be moved towards the outfield because if you look like the Troy Gloss of the world, somebody that was extremely tall, or the Richie Sextons in the world who were really tall, they stayed in the infield. Carl Ripken was considered tall as a shortstop, so did A-Rod and stuff, and they still stayed there. So I don't necessarily think it's gonna happen to Eddie De La Cruz. Um, but when you're 6'8"
That's the
and you
difference.
right, and you could run like a cheetah, and you're 6'8" and you got that long reach and you got that strong arm, I think that for the betterment of the team, moving him to center field is probably going to be better. Shout out to him for taking that to the chin. But I also believe his defense at shortstop wasn't what they expected. That's why I feel like they made the move. And if you look at it, you're 6'8", you have to bend down over and over and over again. It takes you much longer to
I
do
feel like
that. Yeah, like Fernando Tatis was a player who I felt like he was a perfect example of being moved to the outfield because as much as I loved him at shortstop, I loved the swag that he brought and everything. The throws were very erratic, and health wise too. I don't knock them moving tall defenders over to center field. I mean, dude, the dude is 6'8", bro. Like he can literally just reach over the wall and catch the ball. Like I feel like there's so much more impact that he can do in the outfield, and he's young as hell. And I just feel like that probably suits him. It's disappointing to see because I loved him as a shortstop. I loved when he showed off his strong arm, but yeah, I don't think it's gonna be a trend. I think that if it applies, cool. But there's a lot of MLB players, former MLB players that were great and they were tall. It's just that
yeah,
I think it's a shortstop thing.
I
I
think
think like
the ones you mentioned were corner infielders though, so that's probably
right,
why they
exactly to
versus
my
the
point.
middle infielder like you 6'8", 6'7", like it's gonna take some time for you to get down to the ball, you know, compared to like a 5'9", 5'10", 6 feet dude, you know, in the middle infield.
Yeah.
And I feel like the arm is probably a concern. Like, yeah, they throw hard, but sometimes it's not the most accurate because the time that they waste in getting down, they have to make up for it with their arm to get the runner out in time. So now you're rushing the throw, you know? Tatis was a below average defender at short, so was Neil Cruz. I think Ellie De La Cruz, it's somewhat average to below average. I saw a stat that he makes a lot of like difficult plays, but the routine plays he's not really good at, and that's something to be concerned about, you know. Um, I do think that after like 6'5", 6'6" at shortstop, it's a little hard to get down consistently.
Or
Uh,
shortstop per second, to be honest.
and
I do think the corner infield positions will probably suit them better. Because once the difference between like being a middle infielder and being a corner fielder, as you know, a man that plays all positions, um, excuse me, um, is like at shortstop and second. Damn, I lost my train of thought. I feel like a bug just flew into my
shortstop
mouth.
and second I feel like it's a big difference in the corner infield just in
Oh,
terms of responsibilities, range, expectations, everything, bro.
yeah, and I just remember what I was gonna say. Our first baseman and third baseman before the ball is thrown, they're getting ready position. They're already as low as possible. Look at Matt
Yeah,
Chapman, perfect example. Versus a shortstop and second baseman, you have to be ready a little bit more upright because the ball is gonna move left or right. Exactly. So I do feel like maybe that's gonna be better off for them. For Ellie De La Cruz, uh, I have another thing where I feel like fast players should move towards the outfield because they cover so much ground,
cover so much
bro.
range. Yeah, and then they long
Yeah.
too. Yeah,
And it preserves their body a little bit better too. Like your body's not being is not taking
not
as many
so.
bumps. Exactly. And the constant bending over to catch a ground ball. I feel like it's easy for the body. It's not a popular take. It's not, and I completely understand it. Uh, but for like the likes of Ellie De La Cruz, if he was to go down to the outfield, I mean, I understand it. I would completely understand it. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the Cincinnati Reds have a lot of prospects that are infielders too. So it could happen.
Yeah, just something to get the mind flowing for like further discussions. But guys, I hope you guys enjoyed episode 16. Please like, subscribe, share, comment, DM a question or whatever. We're here for you guys.
Yep.
Making it pop. Any last words, cover?
No, just thank you guys for watching episode 16 of the 300 podcast. Make sure that you guys like, subscribe, like Gilbert mentioned before. Follow us on all our platforms. We've had a little bit of a surge in terms of our viewership. So thank you so much, guys, for supporting us. Go ahead and like and follow and DM us for any questions that you guys may have. We're looking forward to having some prospects to watch going into September. A lot of the playoff hunt, early predictions in terms of awards that's going on. A lot of fun topics to discuss. I know it's been the dog days of summer. It's already the end of August. I'm ready to turn it over into September. I'm tired of this heat. Um, and yeah, man, I'm really excited for the prospects, dude. Like I really am. A lot of these players are, and it's crazy. Before we hang up, it's crazy how a lot of these minor leaguers have been with their team pretty much all year. And then right when their team is about to be in playoffs, they actually get brought up to the majors. I think that's really funny. I think that might be something that the MLB should probably
Well,
reconfigure, but nobody cares about the minor league playoffs. But it's
yeah,
it's just something to think about. But nonetheless, thank you guys for watching. Go ahead and sign us out, Gil.
you already know. I want the Mets to win. You want the Yankees to win. We out here, 300 Club Podcast. You know. Thank you.